Alrighty, good morning. I hope my voice is being picked up by this machine. This tablet has a habit of not picking up my voice. It says, I'm not picking up your voice, Tom. Yeah. Hi, Rocky. Good morning. Good morning, Rocky. Anyway, quite the cat, I'll tell you. You're quite the cat, Rocky. It's true. Anyway, I just saw, well, a comment I made on a video that was made by somebody else. I got a response to it. And basically, my comment was along the lines of I made a video about the Universal Basic Income Program not too long ago on my own channel. And what I said is that the value of money is tied to productivity. Well, I made the same comment on another channel where somebody posted a video about UBI, Universal Basic Income, and that's what I said is it's based on productivity. You know, if you have no productivity, the money will have no value. And somebody responded to me in the very simplistic way that people who don't critically think do. People who don't see beyond the end of their nose. What they said to me was, oh, so money spent, so the money being spent by rich kids who inherited their money has no value. This is what they said. Well, that's a very simplistic way of looking at it that doesn't take a whole bunch of things into account. Now, you take some young rich person, and they've inherited their money. They haven't worked for it. It's come to them through an inheritance. The reason that that money has value, even though they didn't work for it, is because of the productivity of others. It's because of the productivity of their grandpa who founded the company that made the family rich. You know, or their father who founded the company that made the family rich. And their employees. It's because of the productivity of the employees also of that company. Now, let's say Grandpa didn't found, let's just make up the name of a company here. Let's say the International Amusement Game and Vending Machine Company. Let's say that Grandpa, back in the 1930s or 40s or whatever, or 50s, he founded a company manufacturing vending machines and pinball machines and things like that. And he did really well. He built a lot of vending machines. He built a lot of pinball machines. His vending machines ended up, in places all over the country. They were very popular. His pinball machines were the same. Bars and restaurants and other businesses like that loved his pinball machines, and they bought them for their establishments. And Grandpa made a shit ton of money. And then Dad started working for Grandpa. The son started working for the father. And again, he expanded the company. He got into other things. He kept the company current so that, when electronic stuff replaced mechanical stuff, Dad was there and he made sure that the company stayed current and started producing a line of video games and so on. And so the company continued to make money. And the company had good employees. The employees produced well. They earned their money. They earned their pay every week they produced for the company. Okay, so the company did well. That's all productivity of other people. That rich kid that this guy referred to, he's now benefiting. He's reaping the benefits of the productivity of his grandfather and his father and their employees. You know, what he said, his comment, and I responded to him this way. I said all this stuff, in not exactly the way I'm saying it now, but basically the same in my reply to him. I told him that his comment would be like me saying, I went into a bar and I saw that a factory worker was having some beers. And beside him sat a guy on welfare who was also having some beers. The bartender was serving both of them. He was taking both their money, and he was, giving them both beers. Therefore, you don't have to be productive for your money to have value. Well, in a way that's true. But the money has value because the guy on welfare, his money will buy the same beers that the factory workers' money will buy. So it has the same value. But the reason it has that value is because a portion of the productivity of the factory worker has been set aside for programs like welfare, programs like pensions and welfare and so on. And so the guy on welfare, his money has value because of the productivity of the factory worker. If the factory worker was also on welfare, and so was everybody else in the bar, well, for one thing, there'd be no bartender to serve the drinks. So the bar would be closed because there'd be no bartender to serve the drinks. Let's say everybody went on welfare. There'd be no bar then because the bar would be closed. Who's going to work in the bar? The bartender is no longer a bartender. He's now on welfare. The people who work down at the brewery, brewing the beer and bottling it and everything, they're now on welfare, so they're not producing any beer. The truck driver who actually delivers the beer, picks the beer up at the brewery and brings it to the bar, he's on welfare now. He no longer drives a truck. He's on welfare. Look, the productivity of a nation does dictate its wealth any way you look at it. This guy is saying, well, what about a rich kid who inherited his money? He didn't earn it. There's no productivity on his part. Therefore, how can you say that the value of money is tied to productivity? Well, I can say that because it doesn't have to be your productivity. You can have $100 in your pocket that you didn't earn, and it'll still spend the same as $100 that somebody else earned. But I guarantee you, the $100 in your pocket that you didn't earn, it was earned by somebody. The productivity of somebody caused that $100 to exist. And if it didn't, then that $100 no longer has the spending power it once had. That's how we get inflation. That's why we've got inflation. Because our government printed a whole bunch of money during the whole COVID deal. They printed a whole bunch of money and they distributed it to people who hadn't earned it. It was money that had no productivity behind it. And as a result, it was money that had no value. And so now we're spending $12 for a box of cornflakes. Something that should cost us $3 is costing us 12 now because of the damn money being all screwed up, because there's no productivity. There's no productivity behind it. We're paying the price for that now. All this business of printing money when there's no productivity, this is what it creates. So, okay, if you have $100 in your pocket now, you can't buy nearly as much with that $100 as you could 5 years ago. And the reason is because 4 years ago, our government started printing money and distributing it with no productivity behind it. They printed money that had no value. And now we have all this money circulating that has no value. And that's the reason that everything is so costly. That's why it's costing, $200 to fill a gas tank. That's why it's costing, like that $100 that you have in your pocket now. That's why it's costing you that much. It's costing you the whole $100 bill to buy what $60 would have bought 5 years ago. That's the reason. Because of that. Because a whole bunch of money was put in the circulation and there was no production. There was nothing done for it. There was no production behind it. And so that was pretty much my answer to the guy. Yes, you can have money in your pocket that you didn't earn, and that money will have the same value as if you did earn it. But the reason for that is that money derives its value from the productivity of somebody. If not your productivity, then somebody else's. That's how it works. That's how money works. That's how an economy works. If you put everybody on welfare and nobody's producing anything, there's no productivity, then the money will be it's valueless. The only reason that the money now has any value is because there's still a few people who are productive. Take them out of the game, put them on welfare, and what little value the money still has will disappear. And that $2,000 monthly check that you get under UBI won't buy you a thing. It won't buy you a chocolate bar or a stick of gum. It'll buy you nothing. I mean, like, it's just common sense. But see, we got a country now that's ruled by people like that, and that's pretty much populated by people like that make these kinds of asinine comments because they don't think. They don't have critical thinking ability. And so they'll say, well, what about the money the money inherited by the rich kid? Does it have no value? Well, again, yeah, it does. The rich kid didn't earn it. No. He inherited it. Lucky him, he inherited a fortune. Good for him that he inherited all that money. But I guarantee you, somebody worked for that money. His grandpa worked for it. His dad worked for it. Their employees worked for it. That money, the value of that money is based on the productivity, not of the guy who inherited it, who hasn't worked, but it's based on the productivity of others who did work. Anybody who started a business, has built a business from the ground up, can tell you it's a lot of hard work. I've had friends who started businesses, and those people work